Hi, guys. Welcome back to the She Who Leads podcast. And this episode is super special because I have a guest with me today who you can obviously see. It's Lauren, who will introduce herself in just a second. And just a quick sneak peek into today's topic. We really, both of us are very passionate about business, and specifically business around soul pull and purpose. It's basically the same. So what we talked about is how we can make this whole building process fun, because it will take time to build a business. It will take effort. It will take energy. It sometimes takes tears to get there. And we as humans are super, super impatient. So how we find that balance between what the soul wants, that will bring the fulfillment, and also keep the human part of us happy, and find that way of feeling the work, like how we make the work fun and enjoyable. That's the main thing that we are poking around today. But before we dive deeper, Lauren, hi, welcome.
Hi. Thank you, Daniela, for having me. I'm so excited. I binged a bunch of your podcasts last week. So I love your content on building a soul business because it is very daunting. But, anyways, I am Lauren Polly. I am an intuitive healer, and Daniela and I met through our intuition programs that we took. I run a podcast as well called From My Wild Heart, and I really focus on what I have coined as soul mapping. So I like to look at the soul holistically and really how we can create meaning and purpose in our lives. And that is what gets me up every morning. How are we going to create more meaning and purpose in our lives? So I'm excited to be here and dive in.
Yes. And that's why I love that you specifically are here to talk about this, because like I really truly believe that the the thing that will make business and anything in life basically super fun and enjoyable, and specifically fulfilling is, the purpose, right? When we find a purpose, when we have that purpose, which you already said, like basically ingrains everything that we encounter and have in our life. When we can have that in the business and have that lead us in a way, that already brings in a lot of joy and a lot of fun.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think I am super curious about your definition of purpose, because I think that's also something that people have like different takes on. So what is purpose to you?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I went down a whole rabbit hole last week about how our words have meaning. I think purpose is like, why are you here? Why am I here? That is like purpose to me. Like, what, and it is not one specific thing. I have had to bring myself to that come to Jesus moment. You want that like pinnacle of your purpose, but your purpose is going to change. Your purpose is going to span different areas of your life. But it's like, what and that's why I kind of tie meaning and purpose together, because your purpose is like what gets you up in the morning, what gets you going, and what do you give. I guess it's like more of what you give purpose to than like this like one ultimate purpose. But it's really what gets me up in the morning. Like, what gets me excited? And so it's not just one thing, it's realizing that there can be multiple things, it can change. And you are the one who's in control of creating. This is a whole thing I go into a lot. I had a whole podcast on it today, like how you not only create meaning and purpose in your life, but you connect to it, because that's a lot of times the missing piece is we might be creating things we are creating things all day long, and you might be thinking you're creating meaning and purpose, and you are, but if you're not connecting to it, you're missing a big piece of it. It's kind of like I live in my brain all the time, so I have to consciously connect to emotions, for example. So it's a similar concept if anyone out there is like me and is, you know, predominantly in their brain, or vice versa, always in their emotions and not thinking things through logically. So I think it's a constantly evolving thing, but it's like, what gets you excited to get going? What can you, your purpose is what you can talk about for hours. So I could sit here, and Daniela and I have exchanged voice notes about the most random things, usually about the soul and intuition and stuff. And it's like, what gets you going and what can you talk about for hours and hours? And I could also talk about like red light therapy for hours and hours. So like there's so many things. It doesn't have to be one thing that is your purpose.
Yes, I love that you brought this in because I that's something that I see people get stuck on so many times of like I have to know this specific purpose and I want to put a label on it and I want to like define it of okay, so this is it. Like this is it. This will be it for the rest of my life, and if I don't have that now, then I don't have the purpose. And funnily enough, first of all, what you said is super true. Like it's always evolving because the purpose is basically coming from who we are. Like it will always be the exact mirror of your current state or maybe the next stage that you want to get into. So that also is reflected in that. As you change, as you open up more parts of yourself, as you get back more to your core self, who you truly really are made to be in this lifetime, that will change. So your purpose may seem today like, I don't know, A, and then not even 3 months from now, but like let's just a bit go further, like 3 years from now, definitely not the same. Just like looking back in my on my path, like my purpose just a year ago was so much more different than it is today. Not entirely, but like has a lot of new components in. And that's something that I feel like people are not giving them permission for, of like being flexible with. So, what is actually right now that wants to be created through me? Which actually, I love your phrasing of this, and be okay with like maybe tomorrow this will be something different, or like 3 months from now it will be something entirely different. And that's really one big chunk of it. The other thing, which makes it so hard for like putting our fingers on that purpose, is the fact that most probably it doesn't even exist yet. Like the
Mhm.
labels that you are looking for, you will create those labels. They're non-existent right now because your purpose is super unique and no one ever had ever before that. Maybe something similar, maybe. But like the exact way that your purpose looks like and feels like, and the name of it and anything, that's your job to create too. That's your job to figure out. That's your job to put a label on it. And you won't really find that outside of yourself. It only come from what will come from within of who you are, and understanding like, okay, how, like you said beautifully, how, what gets me going? How do I want to change the world? Right?
Mhm.
How do I want to add something that is not existing right now in that exact form?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny because I had to, like, break myself of this almost. I had to we'll put it in a nicer way. I had to rewire my brain on this because and we're taught this, but it's, like, so destination focused, right? You want that certain thing. You want to know where exactly you're going and when you're gonna get there. Like, I spent so much time and money on psychics and intuitives over the years because I just wanted to know, okay, where am I going exactly, and when am I gonna get there? And that's just not fully how it works, right? And it's something like we are on a journey. It is always going to be our journey. Our soul is always growing. Like the whole point we're here is growth, right? So your soul is never going to stop growing. There is no destination where your soul is like, okay, we did it. We reached nirvana. We're done. Like, so it's like rewiring our brains to understand that this is a journey. Every part of it, your entire life, your career, they're interconnected, but like, let's just say they're separate, your relationship. It's all a journey. It's not some destination. It's not like, okay, once you get married, everything is easy. No, your relationship changes and takes on different forms. Maybe you become parents. Maybe you like, there's so many different like pieces to the journey. And we're so destination focused, and that's not what it is, because your soul is always going to choose more growth. It's always going to choose ways to up level. Go, you might be mastering self-love. Well, guess what? You get to level 10, they might invent a level 11, 12 for you to go, like you just don't know. And I totally get it, cuz this is how what kind of screwed me up for a long time is like thinking you had to know it all. And this is where trusting yourself and trusting your path, most of the time, even the most incredible intuitives and psychics, whatever you want to call them, that I have met over the years that are mentors and teachers of mine, they don't necessarily know it all and they don't want to know it all. You follow the like breadcrumbs, you follow the little things. Like my soul one day just told me this like soul mapping. And I was like, what is that? And she just started laughing. She's like, yeah, you'll figure it out. It's like you don't get the whole picture. You get the pieces that you need to start integrating, right? And then it's like this little game, this journey. You go in search of that knowledge and then the next knowledge. And like you said, you kind of learn along the way. And most of the time, what you end up teaching is like what you learn and usually what you struggle with, you know?
Yes, that's very true. And it really actually translates beautifully into how actually building a business works, because when you start building a business, you don't really know, most of the time you don't really know what the exact end goal will be. You like have bits and pieces of it, and you kind of need to learn to trust yourself, to trust your ideas, to trust your capabilities of like, I figured it out on the way. Like, again, bringing in this I don't I'm working a lot with flexibility right now in my life. So that's why it's like so prominent in me. But like my higher self is like, be flexible, flexible, flexible. And I can see why, because like the the ability to change gears, like seemingly out of nowhere, is basically what will, and we are kind of segueing into the joy part, like will actually help us enjoy things and not wanting to, rigidly wanting to go like one lane. Because when we like really attach ourselves to one solution, we attach ourselves to an identity, a label, or whatever, we kind of basically create this inner expectation that all of the times, I want to say that expectations always lead to disappointment,
Mhm.
because we are humans, which is beautiful, but the way of the soul is so much more complex and intricate and much more beautiful that you can imagine for yourself right now. So your wildest, most amazing dreams that you have for yourself, I can guarantee that your soul has even bigger plans for you.
Yeah.
And and that's very true.
Yeah, we're
And
very limited. Our brains are just
yeah.
limited to what we have seen, right, around us. That's like what we think is possible. That's what we base our realities on. And I don't know why this keeps coming in, but I'm going to say it because apparently it's a good metaphor. And however you feel about it, but look at Facebook. Facebook started when I was, or came out. I was like it had come out the year before. So I was like one of the first people in college with it. And it was, you couldn't even see who was writing on your wall at the time. It was like almost like writing in a yearbook and you had to like sign it. It didn't have a picture. And now it's this company called Meta, right? However, like 15, 20 years, I don't know, time is probably 20 years later, right? We're looking at 20, it's
Yeah,
been around for over 20 years
well
now.
over.
And it bought Instagram, it bought WhatsApp, Facebook has like marketplace on it. Like it has evolved so much from what it was. And but we don't allow ourselves always that same grace. We're like, oh, well, we have to have it all figured out. No, they started with this one very, very basic product only available to college students. You had to have a college email address. And now, again, however you feel about Facebook, Meta, it is one of the biggest companies in the world that has made probably one of the biggest differences, again, for better or worse, everything has positives and negatives, but for better or worse, it has made one of the biggest impacts on the world, the entire world in the last 20 years compared to, all the many companies out there. And they didn't know what it was going to be then, and it still evolves. You're always going to evolve as you grow and new things come in. But I don't know why that kept popping in, but I had never thought about that before till just now. So I was like, okay, this is like a perfect, I think, metaphor. But we expect to know the entire journey. We want that certainty, I think. It's our ego of like where we're going. And, you know, the thing is we don't get full certainty here. We get to like the best thing you can do is develop your intuition and develop your relationship with your soul, your higher self, because you will get help along the way, but it's not like this certainty of knowing every single thing that's going to happen.
And that's the thing. I love that you brought that up because you already mentioned the element of surprise, right? And I actually had this musing for myself, I think a couple of weeks ago, which just like popped in my mind right now that I was like wondering, it's so weird that with some things we actually love surprise. Like, we love Christmas, we love gift
Yeah.
giving, we love like we don't want to know how things will, I don't know, like how my spouse will ask for my hand, like how will I get engaged? Like we don't want to know that. We want the surprise. But when it comes to um things in our future, we actually are so afraid of not knowing. We are like clinging to this feeling of wanting to get certainty. And what I got to as a, I don't know, resolution, or why is that, is basically, I think it's coming from our expectation that it actually most probably will go bad. And that is coming from a self-image imbalance, a self-image wound. Because again, if you believe in yourself, if you know that you are meant to do something, if you really, truly, truly know that and believe that too, with every fiber of your being, you're actually are not really afraid of the future because you know, like, oh, okay, so whatever comes up, I have my intuition, I have my business knowledge, I have my tenacity, my patience, like whatever you have it as a purpose.
Mhm.
Everything that you have right now, everything who you are right now is a very perfect concoction of someone who is perfectly capable of delivering and fulfilling your purpose and building the business that you want around it. Like that's a fact. That's a universal law that basically is ruling all over us. Of course, we don't notice because that would make the game so much more easier than our
Yeah.
soul wants them to be. But when you get to this and learn to trust that and believe that, and again, it will only come from you understanding who you are and learning to trust that. So again, I think a big part of enjoying the journey, enjoying the building process will come from understanding who you are and trusting everything that you are. And again, that comes with time, but when you put in the time, it will come faster. And then the future won't seem so scary. And then you won't maybe like want that certainty so much. We will always want certainty at some point because this is again like you said, our ego, we have our ego. I think we
Mhm.
will always have, we need to have our ego because otherwise we will just like jump off of cliffs because we won't really have this feeling of being, like cautious and scared and whatever to like for our lives. We need that. But again, you need to find the way of incorporating that um inner safety so it doesn't really rule you and doesn't make you stuck in this infinite search for certainty, which will never really come in the way that most people want it, which I have been there and still
Mhm.
catch myself to be there a
Mhm.
lot of like, but it must be just so good to know like what exactly to do and how exactly to do it. And just like that part of that type of certainty never really comes. Certainty that you can do it, certainty that you are capable, certainty that you are meant to do things, that can come, that you can gain.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of, like, understanding who we are and that we are so much more than this lifetime, like, not to minimize the lifetime because every lifetime is so important, every lifetime is perfectly planned, like you said, down to every single trait, personality trait that you have, everything that you are naturally good at or you should discover you are good at in your lifetime. Every single part of, like, what you look like, your eye color, your height, like, everything is so meticulously chosen by your soul, but remembering that your soul knowledge spans lifetimes, hundreds of lifetimes, if not thousands, some people. I mean, depending on the age of your soul, like how long you've been around, things like that. But your soul is so smart and your soul sees the big picture that we cannot see. And there's reasons we cannot see that. Like, you're talking about the ego, and we were built perfectly. So the ego exists for a reason. It's not like get rid of your ego type thing. But I had a healer, and she's a friend of mine too, tell me this probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and I can never unhear it. Part of the reason we aren't given the big picture is because we need to be able to do certain things to still get to, like, let's call them soul goals, right? The things our soul wants to do. So if I told someone, hey, you're going to meet the love of your life in 6 months, and they go, great, cool. I'm going to get off all the apps. I'm going to stop working on my self love. Like, I don't need to do anything because this person's coming in. Well, that can be detrimental because that person coming in could be very contingent on you continuing to be on the apps. And maybe you needed to meet a few other people and learn a couple lessons to be ready for that person. Maybe your self love needed to be at 89% and it's still only at 60, but if you continued developing it for those 6 months, that's why you would meet that person. And because our soul built us this way, our soul also knows what we are likely to do and not do because of our traits and how we're built. So it plans everything so perfectly. But this is a huge reason why you're not always meant to know every single step, because you wouldn't necessarily take all the baby steps that you needed to get to those places, right? So it's all perfect. It sometimes sucks to hear. It's not always fun as a human to be like, I don't know where I'm going. But there is a design and a like divine design behind all of it.
Yes. Yes, that's true. And just like two things came to me with this. One is that just like just like anyone, like think about how you maybe ever in your life got the perfect workout plan. Like you got exactly the things that you needed to do, the reps, the sets, the equipment you need to use. You got the perfect meal plan, like laid out what perfectly goes into it. Was it fun? Was it truly really fun to do that? Like if you're maybe someone who has like a very like OCD personality and like likes to, meticulously plan out everything. But
Mhm.
I myself and a lot of the people I know, we actually like surprise because when we know exactly what is going to happen, we get bored super fast. Super fast. Like a human brain is like, okay, there's no newness in that. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like
It's kinda
that's
like
why
when you
actually
check out of a movie because it's so,
yeah,
you know what's gonna happen. You're like, well, that's yeah.
exactly.
You mentally and emotionally check out of the movie. We like those twists and turns.
Yeah. Exactly. Like if you know the end of a book, you're not reading it with the same enthusiasm as if you don't know the end of the book, right? So I think this element of surprise is a very crucial way of us actually enjoying things. But because we are afraid that we are doing the wrong things or not getting where we want because we are not like not following the perfect path that we have in our head, that's what actually kind of taints the experience. And that's what actually is missing. But again, like if I go back to this, why there are like things that we love to be surprised about and stuff that we don't like with a Christmas gift. Like you're not really putting your life on the line, right? Like you will like, yeah, I can get a very good gift. Maybe if you get a gift from someone who you know that knows you very well, you're actually like very much excited, expecting to get something super cool. So actually you're expecting that things will turn out for the best, right? And that's why it's like so exciting. Like, oh my God, oh my God. So again, it basically comes from this pressure that we put on things of this has to go this way because otherwise my am theatrical for a reason here, my life will be ruined because that is basically how we think about things. Like if this doesn't go this way, if I don't get to this goal at this point in my life, and that kind of gets back to this, we want to know the finish line and we want to get there super fast. If that doesn't happen, like my life is ruined. Everything is just like, I don't know, nothing really matters. Like we really have these, again, a human brain have this tendency to plan things out perfectly in our head. And the human definition of perfect and the soul's definition of perfect are two very, very different things. Because for our human brain, like, and that was something that, again, like I needed to go myself into, of what perfect means to me. And perfect actually for a lot of people means that I I kind of have this idea how this should go, and perfect means it is going exactly that way.
And there's no
No other
failure,
way.
right? We think
Yes.
anytime there's or even an obstacle that comes our way can be seen as not perfect, where it's like the funny thing is your soul literally planted that obstacle for you to learn and grow from.
Yes. And for the soul, that is perfect.
Yes.
So the perfect is, seeing the good and bad at the same
Mhm.
time and being
Mhm.
okay with that
The
and
balance, yeah.
actually loving that, right? Like that
Mhm.
is perfect for the soul, for the soul's definition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we miss too is like we don't like to think this way, but we wouldn't know like if you were happy all the time, you would get bored and you would also not really know what happy was. It would just be this neutral state if that's all that existed. The reason we can be so happy, the reason we can experience love and joy and all those things is because we know the contrast, because we experience sadness, we experience loss. Like if people, I think about this and I go down rabbit holes. So sorry if I lose anyone with this, but I've given the thought a lot because I grew up super Christian, right? And I'm like, well, what is heaven? Like, what is eternity? If you think about time as eternal, that is forever, like forever and ever, no end, nothing. Like, that's kind of like if you really sit with that for a second, don't with it for too long because you will dive down a weird rabbit hole. But like, it is just really, really long. And can you love something for all eternity? A lot of times we love things because we know that they're is a beginning and an end. Like that's the world we live in is this beginning and an end. And I'm not saying it makes loss any more sad, but like we know happiness, joy, and love because of these what we would deem negative parameters, because of sadness, because we know that everything has a limited time to it. Like think about how much you love your pets and you only get them at best for about 10, maybe a little bit more years. It's like we probably part of the reason you love them so deeply is because you know the time with them is so finite compared to your entire life. And again, these are rabbit holes a little bit and they're like a little bit sadder topics, but this is how a soul looks at things. And this is also, if we truly were able to look at it from a neutral place, this is also how we experience those things that we hold so dearly in life, like love, like happiness. It's because we experience the juxtaposition, and your soul comes here to experience everything, all of it. And we don't like it. We don't like the failure. We don't like the obstacles. It makes us feel uncomfortable and it brings up all this all these other feelings. Let's be real. You're like, am I worthy of this? Am I worthy of what I want? I don't feel valuable. I don't feel special. I don't feel all these things. We give everything so much meaning when we face obstacles and when we face what we deem as failure. Your soul never thinks it's failure. Your soul's up there like, yeah, we're learning. Look at this.
Yes, that is so very true. So very true. I was wondering, so if we like dive a bit more into the joy and enjoying the process part. So what was something for you specifically, Lauren, that you feel like made it hard to enjoy the journey so far? Like,
Gosh. Well, a lot of it is just everything we've been talking about. I wanted to know, like years ago, when I started my spiritual journey, like over a decade ago, I knew I wasn't meant for the corporate world, but I was still in it. I was actually in it up until recently. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I was meant for more. And that knowing I was meant for more or something different drove me insane because I couldn't figure out what it looked like. Like I am a type A organized person to a T. Like, you should see how many Google Docs I have. It's absolutely insanity. I have a Google Doc for everything. Everything is so organized. It like it's just how I work. Like, when we go on vacation, my boyfriend's like, he books the hotel and the like, the airfare, and he's like, you do everything else because I know I'm not even getting involved. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'll plan it down to a T. He's like, just build in some time where we're not doing anything, please. Um, but so that I have that type of brain. So it's just really hard for me to relax. But again, I didn't have the vision and I did not trust. This is a huge thing that pretty much what my entire belief system of the spiritual world and life in general is now based on. I didn't have the foundations. I didn't know what even foundations were in the spiritual world, which would be like loving yourself, trusting your path, being present. Like, these are foundations that you build everything off of, right? So I wasn't good at following we'll call them the breadcrumbs or the little things that come in, because you are always being guided. And a lot of times we're following it without even realizing. But again, we just want to know the whole picture. So that's what kept me so far out of the joy, because I was trying to force and control something that like didn't actually need to be forced or controlled. And I think I was missing the whole purpose. So to keep using this word, but what has kept me up, and like, since I was like a little child, like some of my first memories are like asking my mom, why are we here? What is the point of life? Like, I can't imagine having my 4-year-old daughter asking me, like, mommy, what's the point of, why are we living? What are we doing here? And she's probably like, oh my God, what type of child did I just give birth to? you know, but I have always been this idea that there has to be more to life than what we're told. There has to be more to life than what I saw growing up. The rinse and repeat timeline, go to college, get a job, get married, yada, yada. Not to say you can't have those things, but the way I was seeing it play out, I'm like, there has to be more. So this idea of meaning and purpose, finding meaning and purpose. Little did I know, it was already in my life. I had to just create and connect to it. But this whole idea of that pushed me along, again, soul planned it perfectly. She's like, here's the carrot. What is the meaning and purpose? But what I realized is like, you have it already. It's creating and connecting to the meaning and purpose in your life. And also, when I have those bad days, like you talked about in the beginning, where there's tears and you're like, where's the money? It always comes down to where's the money coming from, right? That is what gives us the fear. Our idea of success is being financially rewarded for it. And not to say we shouldn't be, because that is part of fair exchange. But it's like, it's not ever about the thing, ever. So it's not ever about the money. So it's like, what drives you? And so it's like, I had to sometime, this was just a recent conversation I had with myself, but it's like, I had to take myself through the fact of like, okay, is what you're doing bringing you meaning and purpose? And it's like, yeah, actually I could do this. Not to say you shouldn't be paid, like, there is law of fair exchange, but could you do it for free? It's like, I could sit and talk to you and talk to people all day long about this stuff. Like, literally, I probably drive my boyfriend nuts most of the time, though he's pretty on board with this stuff. He likes he likes my advice, as he calls it. But if you can do it for free, you are on the right path, and you have to come back to that. You have to come back to your why. I don't want to keep using purpose, because my why is meaning and purpose, but everyone's why probably falls into the umbrella of meaning and purpose. But what do you call it? Because words are important to me. It's all about meaning and purpose, but those two words might not ring true for you. So like, find your why. Like, do you want to feel valuable? Does it excite you to change the world? Like, use those words. But that's kind of like, so those were, I guess that's long-winded, but those are like what has tripped me up and how I've had to and continue, because it's a journey. It's not like all of a sudden my brain flipped a switch and I never think like I used to. Like, you still have to catch yourself and be like, okay, Lauren, why are we doing this? Did you feel like you had meaning and purpose today? Is this what excites you? Is this what gets you going? Like, you got to be your own biggest cheerleader the whole time. You're not going to reach this. I mean, you can correct me if you think differently, Daniela, but like, there's not this nirvana of your like point of your job or your career or your business either. Like it's always going to evolve and change into different things. And that's the beauty of it. But again, like you said, we're not always so good at, and myself included, but at letting it unravel as it's supposed to.
Yeah, yeah. I just had um something with that when I was on my run a couple of weeks ago. And I was like running, panting and like, oh my God, I'm so tired and everything. And I ran past a girl who was like strolling, reading a book while strolling. Like she felt so calm and peaceful and everything. And I actually catch myself thinking about it will be so nice when I can finally do this. And I'm like, whoa, like that was just like such a big like not red flag, but like, okay, so there's a couple of things not okay with this thought because first of all, why can I do this right now? Like why do I believe that I cannot do this right now in this moment and can feel like this right now in this moment? And why do I believe that there is some magical moment in my future when my life would only be exist of moments like this? Because
Mhm.
that is what we are expecting, right? Like we
Mhm.
expect
Mhm.
this, expect our life to be like problem free at some point. And that is just never coming. Like again, like you said, the soul wants to learn all the time, forever and ever and ever. It actually spends hundreds and even thousands of lifetimes, like human lifetimes, to learn and evolve and get to maybe a certain point where she can actually even then choose to go on a different growing path. So it's just a never ending. Like we cannot really comprehend the meaning of infinite with our human
Right.
brain.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But is
wouldn't
it
recommend
mean
going down that rabbit hole. I've found myself deep in it and been like, "Whoa, I don't know where I went there." Yeah, eternity is hard to no beginning and no end is it's really hard for us to conceptualize because everything in this realm, it has a
is
beginning and an
finite?
end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is super weird. So and that's what I needed to like realize. Like there's again, maybe that could actually, because I really believe that we can create whatever we want. Like that's truly, we can create whatever we want. So I could create in theory, I could create a life where I don't have any more problems. But again, I realized, do I want that? Do I really, really want that? Do I really
And would
want to
it
get
just
to a point?
be your perception of no problems, or
Yes.
would it be no problems? Because
But again,
it's
like
all a perception,
it's a
right? So
perception. Yeah. Because
you are gonna have obstacles, but you can decrease the severity to a degree based on how you perceive the obstacles and how you move through the obstacle.
yes, again, but like I realized actually during on that round, like I don't want a life where I don't feel like I am stretching myself. I don't
Mm,
because again, what we don't really think about, life without problems would actually mean that we are stuck at a level. There's just no
mhm.
growth from there because we don't really have the things that get us outside of our comfort zone to think creatively, to get new solutions, to, go to paths that we never really gone before because it's just comfortable. Just think of a time when you were like super, super comfortable, you don't really do much. Like you are sipping stuff and whatever. And if you anything like me, and I kind of feel like Lauren, you definitely are, but if you're anything like me, like I get super bored super fast. Like even with like a long vacation, I love that.
Yeah.
I actually had to learn to rest, but now I am super good at resting.
Yeah, well,
So I
I'm also
actually
I'm an American too, so we don't know
uh,
what rest is, right?
yes. That's a whole
Not compared
whole
to our
added
European
layer.
counterparts. You
Yeah.
understand how the joie de vivre, right? In the US, we're like, "What? What is that?"
Yeah, yeah, that's a bit better here in Europe, but
Yeah.
again, like I still had to learn because I didn't really had the like my parents never rested ever, so I didn't really
Mhm.
had the experience of what that looks like, right, when you're an adult. So anyhow, again, we're going down so much of a rabbit hole, but the point is that you always want to have a better life. Even as a human being, we always want to have a better life. We want to have more experiences. We want to have more like or deeper relationships. We want to have more love in our life. We want to have more freedom. We want to have like more. Like that's really built us even in our human self. it is built in. And I don't really think that's coincidence, because that's somehow in a weird way, like, actually goes very beautifully with what the soul wants. It's just usually not on the same, I want to say, scale that we tend to think.
Well,
But we want
yeah.
more. And when you don't really have the problems, you don't really have the obstacles, and you feel like, oh, everything is super comfy, you actually, at some point, maybe sooner, maybe later, but you will feel super bored. And again, that's the type of fulfillment that everyone craves. That feeling of like, I have a reason to wake up, like you so well put this, like, I have a reason to wake up. And at the end of the day, I feel like this was a day worth living. That only can come when you feel like you expanded, when you feel like you grew. We don't really consciously think about this, but every day you feel like I I expanded myself a little bit, or you have this sense, that will feel like a fulfilling and happy and exciting day. And every day that you feel like this was basically the same day as I did yesterday and the day
Yeah.
before, you will feel like, okay, this was basically for nothing and it was wasted. And that's a secret ingredient, I think, to
Mm.
enjoying the journey and enjoying building the business, and finding happiness within that is, do you do something every single day that puts you out of your comfort zone just a little bit? Like, you don't need to scare the
Yeah, you don't
hell
need
out
to
of
go
yourself every
skydiving every
single
day.
day, but like something that feel like I did something that I never did before. That was
Or
a
you
bit
learn
scary.
something. Yeah, you learn something new.
I learned something new, like something that feels like an expansion. When you can have that, like consciously have that, and that's something that we can actually learn to have. We're naturally wired to it, but when you consciously build that into your days, that will be a very, very different feeling of fulfillment at the end of the day, and happiness at the end of the day, because your soul will be super happy. Like, your soul will be so happy. And whenever your soul is happy, you're naturally happy. Like, that's a very different kind of happiness that we are used to getting from the ego, because the ego's happiness is super fading. It just like comes and goes like right away, because it comes in, it's with you for a second or maybe five, and then you're already thinking about, okay, but I don't have this.
Yeah,
But
you're
the
it's like the
soul,
dopamine. You want that this ego
yeah,
is like the dopamine hits. It lasts
yeah,
for 5 seconds.
yeah, the
Maybe
scrolling, the sweets,
yeah,
the
yeah.
whatever, that's like, oh, this
Well,
will be a fast like satisfaction.
yeah, and it's so funny as you're saying this is why I love having conversations because I feel like so much amazing channeling comes through, but it's like literally every invention that ever happened in the history of inventions came from obstacle. Otherwise, they never would have been invented. Like, the wheel actually was invented at some point. They didn't have a wheel. So it's like they couldn't move things around on a cart, right? Then they realized there had to be more efficient ways to get around because getting around on horseback takes forever, right? It'd take you like 3 hours to go from London to like what would take in a car 30 minutes away. So the car was invented at some point. But these all came from obstacle. Like if we were comfortable, we wouldn't have invented things. Anything we have today came from an obstacle or a lack of something but someone perceiving an obstacle or perceiving a better way of doing things. But it all came from obstacles.
Yes, and that's why, like, again, they are so 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 great, and it's hard to get to that point. Like, I'm still, again, like you said, Lauren, I all the time, when especially when there's a big growth spurt and feels like everything is an obstacle, and I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
god, like, why did I have to choose this hard, like this level? Like, I just don't get it. But
Huh?
again, and then the feeling when you solve something, like, that is actually very cool. Like, when you feel like, oh my god, I overcome this, like, I really truly like know
Talk
how
about
to solve this right
the
now.
best type of dopamine hit, right?
Yes. That's actually very, very like an amazing feeling. And again, gives you this sense of joy, of like, oh my God. Not to mention, it freakishly builds your self-confidence and self-image. When you
Mhm.
go through an obstacle, when you feel like, oh, I actually am able to solve this situation, that actually already puts it in your creative field, that you are capable, that you are resourceful, that you are creative, that
Mhm.
you are tenacious, like whatever you go through and use as you go through an obstacle, let it be a capability, an attribute that you have, an idea, knowledge, whatever. Using those will actually put it in your creative field, and that will reflect out, and people will feel the same way about you. So the more
Mhm.
obstacles you go through and the more obstacles you solve, the more people will feel like, oh, this person is cool. Like, she really knows her stuff. She really knows how to do this. She really knows how to, I don't know, not to people please, or how to speak on camera, or how to use their intuition or whatever, because you already have this knowing within you, thanks to the obstacles that you solve, that, oh, I actually know this, and I know how this works, and I can solve this, and I actually went through this mistake. So I know how to not to go through that mistake the next time, right?
Yeah.
So
It's like
everything
if
is so
you're
interconnected.
yeah, if you're have a choice, you have to have some sort of surgery. And you have a choice between a surgeon who, one, just graduated medical school, like, no, thank you. I want the surgeon who, has had hands-on experience, but I also would like the surgeon who's come across issues during surgery and has figured out how to figure out what to do with them, right? Like that's where mastery comes from. That's where you really start to trust someone because they face obstacles and they've learned from them or they've learned on the spot, hopefully on the spot. But this is like where the mastery comes from is going through obstacles and like taking yourself through them, taking yourself on the other side. I don't want someone who just went to school to Harvard for 4 years. I want someone who's been in the real world and been doing the things in whatever field it is, but the surgeon was just coming through cuz I don't know what the metaphors are coming in my brain today, but
It was a very good metaphor.
I'm going with it. I'm going with it.
Yeah, it was a very representative one. So yeah, I loved it. And what I kind of want to bring in with just like, again, mind experience with what made my journey feel like, a struggle and not really
Mhm.
enjoy something that I was actually built to enjoy. And I think that's something that trips people off a lot of the times, because your purpose should be fun. Like, that's something that I actually talk about, I teach a lot, and I really truly believe that obviously the soul is super, super smart, and our higher selves are also super smart. So just, again, even as our human, with our human brains, like thinking about it, what does the higher probability that you will do something that you hate or something that you love so much then you never ever want to stop, right? Like, whatever your purpose is, you are built to enjoy it to the most. Like, it's just what will keep you going, what your soul knows that will keep you going, even with all the distractions that we have in this world.
Mhm.
Something that you truly, truly love will get you going, even on the days that you have no energy, that you slept like shit, when you have kids crying near you and you have to be at 10 other different roles. Like, you will find the time to do something that you truly, truly love, because again, it already, like, it fills your cup. And when I, started to live my purpose and spend time on it, like, I had the taste of like, oh my god, like, I love this so much. Like you said, I can talk about this for hours. Like, my friends were like, oh my god, just please shut up. Like,
Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
is that feeling.
That's when you know you've hit gold, right? When you're, like, watching the people and your loved ones around you, and they're like, "Please stop," or their eyes start to glaze over.
I know. So that's another fun topic of like how you learn to filter yourself. But anyhow, so
I'm so weird. I don't know what that means. I have no filter, so I need eventually need to get to that place.
oh, so what I went through, and I, like, again, still in the process of really learning and embodying, is that I was there was something that I was supposed to love, and then were times or phases, and even like when I really like went all in on the business, it started to get like super draining. Like, the coachings that I actually love to do started to be super draining. The
Mm,
podcasts, which I actually love to record, because again, like, I love to yap on about this stuff, they even felt like a chore, right?
mhm,
And I was like, how can this be that something that was meant to be my biggest joy is now actually taking away energy? And again, going down the rabbit hole with that, I realized like it was all of the expectations that I put on either myself of I
Mhm.
have to be at some place at some time, like a specific place and a specific time with this. I have to do it in the perfect way. I have to do it right for the first try. That was the big thing, and that's what when you talked about mastery, that was came to me basically of we have this idea that we have to like there's just such an intense fear of mistakes, such an intense fear of not doing things right for the first try. I'm a perfectionist,
Yes.
so I really have that tendency, and now I use that for the good. But back then, I actually used it to punish myself and beat myself up. Of oh, you're actually nothing, like fuel my feeling of not being good enough. And a lot of people I feel like do that of oh I started the business, I posted my first content and nobody liked it. Oh, that must be that I'm doing something wrong. I must be that it must mean that it's not the right way to go about this. Or being super fixated on like numbers and likes and views and stuff like that. Like again, if you're doing this for the outside validation, which again we all do, we all have that. That's something that I think is also ingrained in this path to consciously detach from all the outside validation and really learn to find it within yourself and learn to validate yourself no matter what. And that can come from knowing your why you are doing this. It can come from knowing actually really who you are and what you enjoy. It can come from you being authentic and just wanting to like express yourself no matter what. Like it can come from a lot of different places. But the moment then where you stop putting that outside of yourself and attaching expectations on whatever you are doing, like the creation process, basically when you attach expectation to creation process, it will become something that already has disappointment baked into it, because there's
Mhm.
just a very very slim chance that you will get the exact thing that you are expecting. um and and then when you don't get that again, like you will be like, oh, it didn't really worth it. And if we think about it, like we think about play, I think about play a lot because again, that's something that I feel like my soul wants me to really understand and learn, because I got very much detached from that. But if we think about play and how kids play, they
Mhm.
don't really have any expectation. They don't have an expectation of what is that they want to create at the end. They don't have an expectation of how they will play, for how long they will play,
Yep.
or
I
like
mean,
there's just
forever
nothing.
forever if you let them, right?
Yeah, like even if you say like, okay, you have 5 minutes and then we're going, I don't know, to the store or whatever, they will take that 5 minutes and they will sit down and draw or whatever they want to do. And they don't care that they only have 5 minutes, right? Like they just want to do something that brings them joy, that excites them, that they are curious about. Like there's a lot of things that moves them and motivates them. They want to express themselves. They have an idea. They want to like try that idea and see what comes out of it. Like just a lot of different pieces to how play actually starts and what keeps it, alive. But it's never an expectation. Never an expectation of, oh, I have 5 minutes. I have to efficiently play during this time and I don't know, have the best time. Like they don't really think about that because they don't really have the concept. I think for them helps a lot of the times that they don't really know the concept of time. Like something shifts when you learn time.
100%. Yeah,
But
but yeah, that well, and it's so funny because this is how intuition works. Like my higher self tells me this all the time. I need to play more. Like in fact, it's been my goal to be more playful, like a lot of days, because that's the goal she gives me. But and I said this last week, I think on my podcast, we just take, and there are serious things in life. Like as a kid, things are usually less serious, but as adults, yes, there are serious things that happen. But the vast majority of your life is not that serious. We just make everything so serious and everything is an obstacle and everything, it's like just play a little bit more, you know? Have again, it's all a perception of our reality and we totally miss out on so much because we're not playful and because we're trying to force. We try and force everything, especially as women. We are, let's be real, some of us more than others, I will raise my hand, we're control freaks. And we try and force a certain outcome when it's like there's so many phrases I heard, in the spiritual world starting out that I didn't really resonate with at the time, but they're so true. It's like, one, it's an inside out world. which you just said. It's like everything is created internally first. And two, it's like this or something better. At least back in the day when I was first studying manifestation, that was something you would say, like this or something better, because we are so limited in our understanding of what is possible. It's like it also, so it, first of all, it takes your limited brain out of it because there are other things that can come in, but it also helps you release the grip of the fact that it has to look this way
Mhm.
because you don't know. You think it looking that way is the best way, but you don't really know. You don't know. We have a limited thinking capacity. Like we only tap into like 10% of our brain or less, I think that we actually even use. Like there's so much potential even in our human brain that we don't tap into. And there's even more potential in this entire universe that, frankly, most of us don't even really understand how it works, right? We're just going about our days and we're like, okay, this is how, it's like we don't take the time to even learn how the universe works. I mean, I I love to learn, but like I also know that like there's a point where you're never going to know everything and that's okay. But like there's just so much out there that we just don't fully understand. And that can be scary, but like it's also something to just remind ourselves of too. But the play thing is so important. I think if every adult made it their intention every day for like a month, we'd be in a much better place.
Yeah, I know. And I know it's hard, like especially with something, or for me, I know for me it was very, very hard in the beginning of like, okay, so how the heck do I play in my business? Like what does that even mean? And again, just coming around the fact that this is something that I, attach my livelihood on. Like
Mhm.
security and play doesn't really go hand in hand a lot of the times. And I understand why, because that was again something that I needed to come around myself. And that's why I kind of feel like you have to have a solid-ish foundation of inner safety and going back to know I have the capabilities. I know I am meant for this. I have the solid self image to be okay with saying, like, okay, I know that me trying out different things right now in the business just for fun, like, not really expecting it to go in a certain way. It's just like, let's just have fun with recording a reel for social media without like making it the deal breaker of my business. And if it doesn't bring in 1,000 clients for the first try, then I will like, oh, this doesn't work and I'm not doing it ever again because it wasn't worth the 10 minutes that I put in. And again, like, I am kind of being theatrical here, but this is kind of the mindset that I was in, of like, I'm putting in a lot of work, and then I feel like I'm expecting to get, again, like you said, Lauren, like we expect to get the money, we expect to get the success, we expect to get the luxury life that we picture will actually bring us the happiness. And we can get all of those, and those are amazing. And I want those too at some level, and or like in some way or form. Super funny story, and kind of ties back in here of, we don't really know ourselves. That's a
Mhm.
fact. Like, I grew up believing that I loved stuff. That I like, meaning like I loved a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
I always had a lot of shoes, I always had a lot of clothes, like really like a lot, meaning that I didn't even wear half of it.
Right.
And at last year actually, I just like, okay, like my intuition was like, declutter. I'm like, okay, let's do a declutter. Like, I'm using intuition here. I will do like a full declutter of my wardrobe and like everything. My intuition told me to basically get rid of 80% of my stuff. I'm not even kidding. I'm like, okay, at first it was like, and again, looking back, I know that why it was. And when I started to get rid of the stuff that I had, I actually felt like, oh my God, I can breathe. That's such an interesting feeling. And then I again went with it and went into it with intuition of like, why did I actually feel the need to basically have all this stuff?
Mhm.
And obviously I realized like my dad actually was the same. Like, to this day, still, like, he puts away the last nail because it could be used at some point. Like maybe it will be good for something in the future, right? Like this is his mindset of again, and that's coming from scarcity, which is again a whole other topic. But I realized when I was asking questions around intuitively that my true self, my core self is actually a minimalist.
Mm.
Like I was born to be a minimalist. I was born to be someone who actually thrives with having less stuff because it keeps me my mind is always going up 1,000 miles, and whenever I have like a lot of stuff around me, it just adds to that. So whenever
Yes.
I have like less things, it keeps me like more open to things coming in. It's a weird thing to explain, but I feel more myself than ever before because I have less stuff. And I was so set on believing that my future happiness will look like me having this huge mansion and filled with all the stuff and filled with all the designer clothes and filled with all this stuff that I believed I needed to have the happiness. And now, just like 6 months later, I'm like, yes, I still want like quality stuff. Like I know like my soul really loves quality and loves like good things, but it doesn't want a lot. Like it's a big, big, big difference. And my dream life right now looks much, much more different than it looked like a year ago. Just because I understood a bit more of myself and who I am at my core. So
Mhm.
again, like when we think about this, what would make me happy? There's just a lot of pieces that go in it. And another thing is you again understanding who you really are without all of the conditioning that you basically took on from your parents, from the school that you went into, from the society that you grow up in, the culture that your soul choose to experience, like all those things.
Yeah, and
None
social
of that will
media.
contaminate us.
Yeah, social
Yeah.
media. They literally called I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
this. It's like people don't really think about it, but they literally call them influencers. They influence
Yes.
you to buy things. Like that is their whole job, to influence you to buy things that they would not exist if they weren't influencing you to purchase clothes, shoes, purses, their new skincare line. Like not knocking it at all, but it's just funny that we don't even like take a minute to be like, "Ah, I'm being influenced right now." Like, okay, sometimes it's a good thing, but I would say 75% of the time when I'm influenced to buy something, it's not something I need, and rarely is it something I ever wear
Would choose. Yeah.
or choose. So it's just, yeah, it's, but the contagions and the conditioning are everywhere, and it happens to the best of us all the time. And you can become more aware of it for sure, but it's just, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. So I think that's also like a uh, big piece of that, of, how do you picture your dream business to, operate even? Like even just thinking about, okay, what is the way of building the business that would actually make me happy? Right?
Mhm.
Like not something that I think I need to do this way because this person who I trust said this is the only good way and then I have to do it this way. But like how would that make me feel good? Make me feel happy, right? Like for some people it will be doing podcasts like this. From other people, they don't really like to talk a lot. They like to, I don't know, write. Like that
Mhm.
could be something for you. Or it could be, like just find the things that really you do enjoy. And again, go back to trusting that whatever you enjoy and whatever you like to use to express yourself and connect with people will actually translate into the business connections, the clients that you want. And that's a very hard thing to do. I know that. Like I'm not saying this lightly of like, oh, just
Mhm.
like trust that you like, whatever you do works. Like that takes time and shifting and nervous system work and subconscious rewiring and all the juicy fun stuff that gladly like, fortunately a lot more people are talking about. That is a big, big, big part of business that I really do believe that adds to our ability to feel happy in the
Mhm.
business, because actually that is also like an ability, right? Like a capacity. Like what is your capacity to actually feel happy,
Yeah.
to actually feel joy, and how can you translate that to the business? when it again is it's always tied to safety. Like the business is always tied to safety, and when you have a hard time separating those two, when you feel like, oh, when I want to do, that's something that I've been working on lately. Of I have this tendency to be like super responsible. Like I always been the responsible one. I always been like the one who, like, even as a kid, I was like, got home from school, did my homework, and when I did my homework, that's when I started to play.
Mhm.
And now thinking about it, I'm not really sure that that would be what my soul chose for me. I'm not sure yet, to be honest, but in a way that actually it turned out right now in my life, I just got so super serious about stuff
Mhm.
and so super responsible that it actually felt like irresponsible to have fun with my business. Like that someone who wants to get to goals and wants to achieve things, they are not playing around, right? Like that's something, actually the saying that we have, like you shouldn't play around. You should be like set and do the things and like be responsible and focused and serious and whatever. Like, that's what professional people do. And that's just not true. That's just really not true. So
It's not how your
yeah,
creativity comes through. Your
yeah.
creativity always comes through play, you know? Or sometimes my creative thoughts come through when I'm vacuuming or in the shower or driving, but rarely when I'm like trying to force it to come through my writing or whatever it is. It's like when you force it to come through at a certain time, at a certain place, it's like that's a lot of times when you hit the writing blocks, all those, whatever it is, the creativity blocks. But yeah, it comes through play or it comes through, when you're not focused on it.
Yes.
That I love vacuuming. I have the best downloads when I vacuum. I don't know what it is. I don't
I love
actually like
actually
vacuuming,
vacuuming.
but I like the idea that, like, I know that most likely I'm gonna get some sort of download when I'm vacuuming.
I love that. I love that too. I actually had the best download when I was like in the kitchen eating biscuits. Like I'm just like I'm taking a break. I actually like I set the intent to like writing, starting to write today, and I was like, okay, I had the topic, and I'm like, I have no idea what to write about this. Like, I have no clue. And I was like, okay, let's just go to the kitchen, make myself a tea, and then like I don't know, sit down. And while I was waiting for the tea and like, mincing on some biscuit, I was like, oh my God, like I actually got the exact steps of self-discovery. Like I was like, whoa, that's super crazy. So that's actually really how creativity works, of when you give yourself the space, you give
Mhm,
yourself the rest, the time, or just like,
mhm,
uh, it always reminds me of this concept of, like of music, right? Like music is not just the notes, it also the silence between the notes that makes the
mhm,
music music. So if you only hear the notes, if you're only in the doing, 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 then it's just noise. It's just a noise that is super annoying. But when you give in the pause, you give in the silence, that will become the most beautiful melody that you ever hear.
it's beautiful. I hadn't heard about that before or heard that concept before.
Or maybe I came up with it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
That's
remember.
beautiful.
But
I mean, I love music, but I'm so not musically talented. My hi like, literally, she's like, "Nope, no musical talent for you. You can be tone deaf too. We'll just add to the icing on the cake."
I love
But I
that.
love that. Like, that sounds, like, beautiful to me. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I could see that."
Yeah, so and that was something that like, oh, okay, because again, I was super responsible and super driven and everything, like I got those for a reason. It was a very hard thing for me to learn to rest
Mhm,
and step down. And again, when you mentioned being a control freak, hello, like again, I learned to the need of controlling things to get ahead, and that's not actually how it works. Again, yes, it's good to be initiating, but also sometimes it's better to be in the receiving end. And if you really want to have those channeled ideas, those high frequency, unique, creative solutions that can born through you, that is a receiving
mhm.
that won't really come from you like sitting at your computer and like, like Winnie the Pooh of like think, think, think. Like it's
Yeah.
not how it works. it is actually coming from you like letting go, which again is a very hard concept, I know, but like really like and letting go, like that's a perfect example. Letting go can only can really easily be as simple as you standing off of your desk and going to the kitchen and making yourself a cup of tea. Like that's letting go of like, okay, I'm not forcing this right now. I am taking a 10-minute break and we'll see what happens. If I have an idea, I have an idea. If I don't, I give myself another 10-minute session of like starting to write something and let's see if something comes through then. But again, this like I have to, I have to produce, I have to finish this today because for whatever, that's not really the headspace that will create the joy and the enjoyment of creating. It will create this forcing and, kind of like trying to swim up the
Mhm.
current rather than just like sitting on a comfy, I don't know, floating chair and just like going down with a mojito in your hand, right? Like that's a
Yeah.
very different feeling.
Very different, yes.
Okay. I think we can go on and on about this
I
forever.
know. I'm like, obviously, both of us love to do this because
I know. I know. So I kind of feel like more episodes are coming
I
with
would love
Lauren.
that. Oh, I would love that.
Definitely.
Yes. Yes. You need to come on my podcast and talk about more about this soul path, soul pole stuff. The business side of it is not always my strong suit. Business
That's okay.
acumen.
Like, oh
It's
yeah.
okay. Besides
Uh,
the organization part, but I organize everything. I organize my house too. So it's just
that's a very big part of business, to be honest.
yes, it really yes. Yeah.
It is. It is.
I have seen that.
Okay. So definitely more episodes with Lauren are coming, and I actually wanna put that out of if anything that because we kind of like touched a lot of different topics, which I love, to be honest. Like this is a very, very good overview, I think, with all the different pieces that goes into the purpose, that goes into enjoying the journey, that goes into even business.
Mhm.
And if anything really like interested and you're like, oh, I want to know more about this, like tell me more about, I don't know, how to let go of stuff, or tell me more about how to deal with mistakes, or how to shift my perception with obstacles, or whatever, like how to connect with my why, which you actually brought up. And that's actually a very, very interesting and important piece of the soul business. So if anything really stood out for you, just like drop a comment below, and then we will make an episode on it. So it's how do you say it in English? I'm not sure. Like it's not a free choice, but like uh, I don't know. I'm not even wanna trying to figure out. So you have the option to choose. That's the point.
Yes.
So let us know, and Lauren,
We're leaving
please.
it open. We're not trying to force it, right?
No,
We're
no, no.
letting
Like whatever,
yeah.
whatever you're interested in, but
Yes.
we definitely have a lot of other topics to talk talk about.
Yeah. We can find a
Okay.
topic if you can't.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So, um, would you like to share where people can reach you? Your
Yes.
podcast or like handles or whatever?
Yes. So I don't do really any social media, but I do have a website where people can find me. They can join the mailing list, which is only to win a free monthly read. So if you want to learn more about your recurring soul lesson or biggest soul desire, just any blocks coming up, you can find me at www.FromMyWildHeart.com. From My Wild Heart is also my podcast on Spotify and iTunes, but the email list and or just emailing me is the best way to get a hold of me. And yeah, this was so great, Daniela. I'm so excited. And I'm going to go binge more of your podcast too. I only got through maybe half of them. So
Oh, thank you so much. Oh my God. You said the most beautiful thing about my podcast. Like I am still, like I screenshot it and I go, oh my God, I'm looking at it like all the time. And I just wanted to add that, like, if you want anyone who's listening, like, if you want a guidance on something if you just want intuitive guidance on basically your next best steps, like, I got the best read from Lauren that actually, like, I want to say saved my business at that point because I was just like so lost in the rabbit hole. And actually, like, even 6 months later, like I still hear the things that she was telling me then,
Oh,
and it keep me
thank you.
going of like, oh yeah, I know why this is happening because Lauren like actually told me like this is something that is supposed to play out maybe this way. So it is a it and I think it was like a very short read, even like not even like a full on deep dive. So she's very good. She's very good. People go to her if you have like a
Thank you,
block or
Daniela.
whatever.
That's beautiful
Um,
feedback.
okay, so for everyone who bore with us for more than an hour,
Yes.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And if you want to start building your business, or you are maybe um, stuck with how you can build your soul business, you can actually book a free clarity call with me, which you can find the link in the description. You will also find the links to Lauren's handles, availability, like
Website.
website, yeah,
Yeah.
website, in the description. So you'll find everything there. And we'll see you, or I see you definitely in the next one, and we'll definitely see Lauren in a lot of the next ones.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, guys.